Hello, hi everyone. Let's see where we are with AI translation today and how we can use it in WordPress. I know it's late, so I hope you don't fall asleep and you learn something interesting. So just quickly about me, Mike said it a bit, so I work for On-the-Go Systems company. You know us probably mostly by WML, the most popular multilingual plugin in WordPress. And Toolset is another set of plugins for creating advanced sites using blocks or HTML, whatever you prefer. And what I do, I'm a content manager, so I have a nice little team, and everything that's related to content, from tutorials, documentation, announcements, partnerships, that's us. I come from, originally I was born and raised in Croatia, in center of Europe, approximately. And now I live in Slovenia with my wife and my daughter and our Chihuahua dog. He just turned 15, so that's kind of. So let's see. So AI, right? Artificial intelligence. It's all over the news. And when I applied to speak, you know, it was just like a few weeks before whole ChatGPT exploded, you know, and I chose this topic not because of it, because that was before, you know, and then it exploded. So I found it even more interesting, you know, that we are here today to talk about it. So I just wanted to start with this one. So I created this using DALL-E 2. You probably know this. Maybe you played with it. It's an Austrian dog. It's nice. Here's another one, completely different style, everything. And I have to be honest with you, I cannot draw. Even my stick men are ugly, you know, so this is pretty fascinating. And I kind of created it. I didn't do anything. I just wrote a sentence. So I think that's kind of really interesting today, and I'm sure you've been reading about it. So, and the ChatGPT, like, where is it taking us? Like, you know, where will it end? We don't know yet. Okay, but what about AI-powered translations? They've been around for some time, right? So, and they never exploded in this kind of way, like ChatGPT. Okay, so let's see, kind of start with that, like where we are today. I just want to share a short story when I was first blown away by automated translation. Okay, so I was reading an article on a site called fubiz.net. It's about photography, digital art, you know, not made with by AI, but real people, you know. And I came upon a really nice article, great photos, and a text in French. I don't speak French, you know. Chrome asked me, "Do you want me to translate this for you to English?" I said, "Sure, translate." And I read it, and it was so good. I couldn't believe it, you know. And this is a site. This is one of their articles. It's not the one I saw 3 years ago, but like, you know, writing about art is it's not always straightforward. It can be different, unpredictable, you know, so it's kind of interesting. And here's like an excerpt I took for this talk. It's not the one I read, and it's in French. Like, you know, French to me, it's not the easiest language out there, you know, it's just all Greek to me. And I used DeepL to translate it. So not Google Translate this time, but for this talk, I use DeepL. I'll mention it later a bit. So I just want to read you a first sentence, okay? How to recreate in a scenographic exhibition the unique atmosphere that reigns in the masterpieces of filmmaker Stanley Kubrick. Like, if I wrote that, I would be proud, you know, that's really, like, to me, it's like, that's like what blew me away. So before I go into the further topic of using AI to translate your WordPress site, I just want to touch upon like how it actually works. To be honest, I'm not sure. For this talk, I really wanted to like tell you more about it, but the deeper I went, the less I understood. You know, I don't know. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a statistical guy. You know, but essentially, the way I understood it is that like you have like they use neural networks to learn about languages. Okay, so neural networks, essentially trying to kind of imitate the neural like patterns in our brain to kind of connect the dots. And then what they need to do with this neural network is learn. They need to kind of process a lot of information. Just like ChatGPT, as it processed internet until, I don't know, 2 years ago, that's what they do with language. And then you end up with a massive amount of data for each language, you know, and then you can use that to kind of predict. It's actually like statistics and probability, you know, just like what word should come next when I'm translating and putting it together in another language, okay? However, so we're now coming to like the accuracy, okay? There's still room for improvement because, you know, languages are like very different from each other. They have different grammar. They have different even characters and like rules, you know. So, you know, it's kind of, it's not easy. And what I wanted to tell you today, which I think is important and not many people are aware of, is that AI translation today is really good. It's incredible. So I was blown away 3 years ago, and they really made the progress, you know. So of course, there are fields like medicine and science and, I don't know, pharmaceuticals probably, where you want to be safe. Let's say you're translating you know, a piece of guidance for medicine. You don't want to have mistakes there, right? It's like for health and stuff. But for the stuff we usually translate, like for usual sites, this is like really incredible. Now, the second point I would like to share is why. I think this is maybe even the most important. Like, why would you do this? Like the motivation. Like if there is no why, you'll just go home and say like, okay, it's nice, but like it's not for me. So let's start with theory. The theory says like, you'll reach a larger audience. It makes sense. Like, you know, you translate something to Spanish, there are like millions of people speaking Spanish. Like your audience will be bigger. You improve conversions and sales. How? There were research being done that like proved that when people are visiting sites in their own language, the trust goes up. You know, they trust it more, and they're more. They will more probably do something like act, buy, or maybe do some other activity that you want them to. Of course, like SEO, international SEO, you cannot rank for something in, let's say, again, Spanish if you don't have content in Spanish. It kind of makes sense. And brand awareness, so more people will know you, your brand will grow. And finally, a better user experience. Like my parents, for example, they both speak English, but they prefer reading in Croatian because it's just like simpler, you know. And when I got my first computer, everything was in English, you know. And then for a long time, all the mobile phones were in English. But today, we are kind of used to reading stuff in our language, and I think that's fine. That's kind of cool. But I want to show this in practice. It's not just like theory. I want to show you in practice. So, I live in Slovenia, and Slovenia has 2 million people, okay? And we're in Bangkok, and Bangkok has, if I'm not mistaken, 10 million, right? So you see how small we are. So let's say I create a site, an e-store, whatever, you know. My little pond is 2 million people that I can kind of sell to, you know. But let's just look at the neighbors, okay? What if I add like Croatian, which is right next door? That's another 4 million, okay? I translate to Hungarian, another 10 million. I'm at 16 million now. Austria, which they speak German, I'm at 25 million, and then if I add our Italian neighbors to the whole, you know, thing, I'm at 84 million. So that's kind of, you see, we just by translating, we are making our site and what we do available to many more people out there. And these are just, you know, like neighbors, like you could do beyond that. But here, I would just like to point out that this is the foundation, okay? You cannot market to another region or like language if you don't have your site, for example, translated. But also, when you do translate it, it's not like these 84 million people will come to your site and you will be rich, you know. You need to market it, of course, but that's the foundation, that's your starting point, okay? So that's kind of, you know, the first very important step. They say, like, every journey starts with one step. So in my opinion, this is the step you should take if you're considering it. And there's one more case, okay, which I think is pretty often in the world, and I can kind of relate to it very much. So this is why I, again, went back to Croatia and Slovenia, because I was born in Croatia, and I'm living for many years in Slovenia. And let's say I open, I have a business in Slovenia, maybe it's an e-commerce store, it doesn't matter, and I'd like to expand back to my home country, Croatia, because I have friends there, I have connections, I have partners, whatever, you know. It's impossible. I can have the best connections without translating to Croatian. It just won't happen. And even though these are two Slavic languages which are kind of similar, but not enough. You know, it's just like, no matter how similar languages are, you should translate. Because honestly, some people, there are languages that are almost the same, and still they frown if, you know, they don't see their little flag up there, you know. It's just how people are. Not everyone, of course. So, to kind of finish this part is like why I think AI is a great translation choice today. For all of us, it's super fast. Today, I don't think anything can be faster, you know? It's just like in a few minutes, your whole site is translated. It's incredible, okay? It's super affordable. This is, I think, very important because I know how it is, you know? We are not all like kind of swimming in money, you know? And now, today, AI translations are actually affordable globally. It's not just affordable to some group or some group of people. Now, globally, I think every company can afford to translate their site, you know, and that's very important. And again, it's accurate. So we come back to accuracy, which is very important. So, how do we do it in WordPress? That's kind of, it's not hard, but you just need to, I would say, just plan a bit, okay? So I would say you need two basic things that you need to choose. First is a translation engine. So this is the thing that we talked about, like the thing that will actually do the probability and, you know, the math for you. And the other thing is, of course, multilingual plugin, because WordPress, at the moment, I'll mention that later as well. At the moment, there are no kind of translation multilingual features in the core, so you need to use a plugin, okay? So let's see how to do that. So there are a lot of good options out there. DeepL, Google Translate, Microsoft Azure. Honestly, I've tried like most of them, and they're very, very similar. They're all very good. But today, kind of, they did some blind testing and like testing with, of course, native readers. And DeepL, they kind of always reach the top. So they are kind of considered to be the best. Google Translate is right there next to them, and so on. The only thing here you need to know about is not, for example, DeepL, even though it's considered the best, it doesn't have all the language pairs, you know. So this is very important, especially based on which language you need to translate to. But if it doesn't have that, you can check. If Google has it or Microsoft, you'll definitely find them, what you need. And then it's the plugin. So how do you choose? You have, again, great options, of course, WPML. So then you have Wiglot, gTranslate, TranslatePress, Polylang, Multilingual Press. So you have options, okay? It's kind of crowded. But I would suggest, before you choose, think about the features you need, because they don't all come the same. For example, first one is like, do they support the engine you want to use? For example, there's this, I mentioned the plugin gTranslate. G stands for Google, so it's based on Google Translate, you know, and if you want to use DeepL, this plugin is not for you, so you need to find something else, you know. Then see like if it has other features, like can you manage these translations once they're done? Like can you edit AI translations? Like, that can be pretty important also. Depends on like what you're trying to do. And of course, pricing, you know. As I've been working with WML for a long time, and it's kind of important to know your like competitors, you know, and stuff. We've been, you know, you kind of keep track of where everything is going, and this is like what I'd like to point out is that like there are many options. So you have something free, freemium, premium, whatever, you know, and usually you should take a look at what you need. Write it down and don't just like kind of jump into a plugin, okay? Ask them questions. Every serious company should have some sort of pre-sales questions, so just ask them what you need and tell them to explain it to you. This is what we do. Nobody wants a refund, like not you and not us, you know? So ask us, we'll tell you, and I'm sure other plugins do the same, you know? What's the point is I'm trying to make is like some plugins start free or very cheap, and then as you add options, it kind of adds up quickly. So beware, just do your research and you'll be fine, you know? And also check how much they charge for AI translations, because some say it's free and then they're very expensive. Some say it's you need to pay for it, but it's not so expensive. So check it out, you know. And finally, do you need a human review? So I don't know. That's kind of a question for you. As I said, like most of it is great, but sometimes you see a bit. If you speak the language, you see a bit of things you need to kind of edit. So check if it has. Okay, so I've been on and on and on. So how does it actually look like, okay? So of course it depends. Not all the plugins look different, but the point is the same. Most of the workflows are kind of similar, okay? So this is a screenshot from our WML plugin. And it's very simple because this is the mode it has. Some of the plugins have this mode, but not all of them, where it does all of the translations automatically. So you say just like translate everything for me. If you add a page, it will be automatically translated. If you edit a page, it will be. Everything happens in the background. So there are like plugins that can do this, not just WML, okay? And then the other thing that I mentioned, like most of them allow you to edit AI translations. So for example, this is an editor of AI translations in Wiglot, okay, another solution. So you see you can do the editing. And this is like an advanced translation editor we also have, which is kind of a CAT tool. I don't know if you know what a CAT tool is. It's a computer-aided translation, which professionals use. And trust me, for some time they've been using automatic translation. You know, they're not translating from scratch, but you're paying it. So what happens after that? How do you review it? You know, let's say I translate to Thai language, okay? We're here in Thailand, so I translate to Thai language. I don't speak Thai language, so how can I review it, you know? I'll probably want a professional to do it, or at least someone native that's kind of okay with that, you know? So this is also something to think about. So check if the plugin that you're like kind of interested in, if it supports this stuff. Okay, and so let's say I mean, we're here in a WordCamp, so we have a huge community, and it's not all about websites, right? It's also about the thousands of plugins, thousands of themes that people in this community work on every day. They publish new ones. We have a huge kind of library of existing stuff. So how do you translate an interface? Can you do that with AI? Sure, you can. But today it's not so easy, okay? because how it works right now, I can tell you on our experience. So WML has been here for a long time, and we translate to 17 languages, the UI. And it's really, it's time-consuming, and it's expensive. We spent thousands of dollars on this with professional services, and we've done it because we want to do it. We want to translate. We are not sorry we did it, you know. But it's not just about money, it's about the time as well, you know? So in case you don't know how you do it, you compile your strings from the interface into one language file. In WordPress, it's a PO file called PO file, and then you need to send it to service. They need to do it, and then send it back. You need to put it in the plugin, check it. You know, it's kind of a hassle, you know? So I think it's pretty kind of hard for little developers working on themes and little minor plugins, which are probably free on our repository, you know, to do this kind of thing. Like, it's just like not viable for them. So what I'd like to kind of announce here, it's some free tools that we are working on and that we'll announce soon with our partners and like with the whole community. Where we'll allow everyone to upload their files, their language files, and just get the like AI translations applied to them, and download the files, put them in your plugin, and you're done. So this is what we'd like to kind of share, and we'll announce it properly in the coming weeks. And finally, multilingual future of WordPress. So I'm not sure how, like, if you follow all of the news about where, like, we're going with WordPress, but we are now in phase 2 of the Gutenberg project. So phase 2 is finishing. We are about to finish. When I say we, like as the community. So we're about to finish this, like the whole thing with block editor, and we'll finish the site editor, right? It's coming out of the beta in March when the next big version comes out. And then it will be phase 3, which promises collaboration, right? I'm really looking forward to that, to try it with my team. And then in phase 4, there will be the promise is the multilingual features. Nobody knows. Nobody knows how they will do it. It's a big challenge. There are a lot of features, and they're like, I can tell you because we do this. You know, it's a complex project. I am really like looking forward how they tackle it. You know. And most importantly, since we're talking about AI translations, right? Will it be a part of it? I follow what's going on and stuff, and by the comments that I've seen from the WordPress community leaders and lead developers, I would be surprised if they wouldn't, because I think they're all very kind of eager and like they've been very enthusiastic about AI and like what it can bring to WordPress itself. So I'm pretty sure they will come up with a way to include it, but how, like, it remains to be seen. So that's it. Thank you very much.